This episode of the Party Loaded podcast is proudly sponsored by Audible.com. Check out their awesome catalogue of audiobooks with over 180,000 titles to choose from. And be sure to grab a free audiobook on us and support the show by visiting audibletrial.com/endgame.
Let's party.
Hello and welcome to episode 98 of Party Loaded on the 4th of October. My name is Ollie, and a bit unusual, you don't have the dulcet tones of Luke introducing the show. But don't worry, he's still here, alongside Imogen and Jamie as well. Say hello, guys, wave to the crowd.
Hello!
I'm waving.
My voice is back!
Yep.
I'm so happy.
Hey, he can speak, which is unfortunate, but that's okay.
Well, you're going to cop it now. No.
Probably.
No, it's all good.
I'm going to start off this lovely episode by making a recommendation to our anime friends.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just say, for those of you that haven't watched it, My Hero Academia, do yourself a favour, go watch it. Great show. Putting it out there.
So fantastic!
Okay?
After our pre-show,
I'm so glad you watched it.
After our pre-show chat on this, I'm actually half tempted when we finish tonight to jump on and start binging this immediately.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Do it.
Or I could go play more
and just know
of
that it builds.
Oh, okay.
It builds over 2 seasons. It's epic.
All right.
It is a great show.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of things that three of us, apart from Jam, have in common... Sorry, Jam, we're cutting you out of this one. We all played another really cool game, actually, this week, called Cuphead.
Hooray!
For those of you that, finally released.
So, Ollie and Mimo,
sorry.
you guys are going to have to start on this one because once I do, I will not shut the fuck up. So, you guys go.
Alright, so Cuphead is a really, I'm going to say, fast-paced, side-scrolling action platformer which focuses on boss battles done in a 1920s cartoon style, which is fantastic, by the way, with an absolutely rocking jazz soundtrack. And I think the best way to describe it is one of the quotes on the reviews, which was, I thought I was getting a family fun game. Turns out I got Dark Souls 4. And that's not far off. This game punched me in the dick a lot. I don't know about you guys. Mimo, probably not so much due to lack of that being down there, but I'm sure maybe some bruising still occurred. See, I'm filling in the role of Luke with terrible innuendos.
Wow, you went
It's
you
like
went
he's right
way,
here.
way
I know.
too far.
I learned from Sensei.
To be
God.
fair,
They're
this is
speechless.
usually your line, but go.
So yes, Cuphead. I've played. I think 3 hours. I want to say. I've completed the first island completely, and I did a few levels of the second island, and holy shit, I love this game. Like, it is mint. I don't actually know what to say about it. That's just not like, just watch the trailer and you'll see. I think for me, the animation, I love the art style and the music so much. It's so old-timey. I love it.
Yeah, it's really, really good. We got through most of World 1. It is a bit more difficult, I'm hearing, from the interweebles to play as a duo.
Oh, yeah.
Because obviously you've got 2 points of failure, which in this game is difficult. Can you imagine playing Dark Souls with 2 people?
Don't call
and all it takes
yourself
is
a
the
point of failure, Mimo.
Jam, everyone that plays this game is a point of failure. It's brilliant and it's hard. And we talked about ragey games recently and not enjoying games that, like, you know, you have to keep trying to again and again and again. But the difference with Cuphead is you learn something new every time you do it. And it gave me some serious flashbacks to early day gaming. Having to pick apart a pattern and then figure that out, and then also getting the timing right, and then doing that with 2 people was like learning how to skip rope as a duo from scratch. It was insane, but it's done so well that you don't end up sort of raging at each other. You are still like, oh, I've got this. You know I can do this. I was so close that time and everything else. And I think I've seen every stage bar 2 on the first island. So we've at least attempted most of them, but we did hit a bit of a roadblock. I think very early on in the game, you get a choice to spend coins to upgrade your abilities, and we maybe spent those coins without understanding what abilities we would
frivolously.
need.
Yeah, you're not the only one.
And then just went, crap. Could have totally done with something else that was not that. I absolutely adore it, especially for all the reasons Ollie mentioned. The sound and the animation on this is amazing. It's the reason why it was really high up on my 2 playlists since I tried it out at PAX. Gosh, 2 years ago now? Yeah, 2 years ago we tried out Cuphead. I love it. I love it. And my poor Xbox got turned on. Hooray!
Yay!
All right, Luke, go for monologue.
Well, all right. So Cuphead's been in development for a while. Like we've stated that. I think the first time it was revealed was like part of a quick sizzle reel at maybe E3 about 3 years ago, or maybe even more. I think it was 2014 that it was first sort of a little bit of it was shown. So it's been in development for a while, and there has been quite a bit of sort of news about different aspects of it being changed in development, like which made a lot of people nervous about whether it was actually going to be as good as we thought when it was coming out. But like in a year with 2017, where we are quite possibly actually going through one of the greatest years ever in video games this year, Cuphead comes out at the tail end of the year after we've had some of the biggest hits in modern video gaming and basically says, hold my motherfucking beer, we are not done yet. This game, holy shit. I never thought an indie like Cuphead would actually make my shortlist for potential like game of the years for me this year. But I love this game so freaking much. And it's not just because of all the stuff that Ollie and Imogen just mentioned. For me, there is so much intelligent games design in Cuphead that just blows me the hell away that I just can't even list it all. Like, it's stuff like every single encounter in this game is unique. There is virtually no repetition that I've seen whatsoever. And that carries through in the sound score, the animation, even the game mechanics. Like the platforming stuff that they've added to this game when we thought it was just going to be boss battles. Like every single one of the platforming levels has a real distinct theme, and it doubles down on it with all of the mechanics as well. Like I've just finished doing this one where you're like in a toy factory, and you're jumping around trying to avoid like toy cars and things from smashing you. And there's these little playing cards that are hovering in the air, and as soon as you spin past them, it actually flips you upside down on the screen. You have to platform upside down. And I'm just like, what the shit? This is something I did not anticipate happening. And yeah, my God, this game. I actually don't think it is rage-inducing though. Like I reckon it's hard, but I've never once felt frustrated, which for a game that is this difficult in spots, I think is actually a real testament to how accessible it is as a hard game. So, and just for a bit of context here, I've actually been playing this with Ben. So my 8-year-old son has been playing this with me.
Aww.
Yeah. And
cool.
Getting an 8-year-old to play Cuphead was something I thought, all right, I've got no idea how this is going to go. Let's see. He's doing really well. Like, he has beaten 5 of the World 1 bosses himself without any assistance from me. So that's pretty
Nice.
damn good. Yeah, exactly.
That
I'm
is.
super proud of him. So, but yeah, that's from my other comment earlier. Playing 2-player with this game is really difficult, like a lot more than playing single player. And I don't think it's because of the extra points of failure. I think it's because it adds more chaos to the screen, and it's confusing. Like, knowing what's going on, what to dodge, like where to be, I think is a lot harder when you've got another thing to sort of keep your eye on, because that's often where I become unstuck when I'm doing these boss battles. It's kind of like, you know, when you become overwhelmed is kind of where you start to fall down. So, yeah. But what's your favourite boss level so far, guys? I'm actually really curious about that. Like, which encounter has really sort of stuck out to you as being awesome? Do you have a favourite?
Oh, I'm having a think. I'm leaning towards the blimp one so far.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty cool. So that one is, the boss you're versing is a lady blimp, and you're a plane, and it's the first time you actually encounter a different mechanic rather than being just a person or a cup, I guess.
This is one where she becomes the moon at the end?
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same one. I love that one.
What she does is she transforms into different zodiac signs, and her attacks change and all that sort of stuff based upon that. There's little planes come around shooting bullets at you and bombs and stuff. And yeah, it felt really nice and unique. I don't know if there's other unique boss battles in the game like that. I presume there might be one for each world sort of thing.
Yeah, I think there's a plane level every one of the 3 worlds. So there's 3 in total, I believe. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I look forward to that. But yeah, for World 1, that was definitely my favourite one. The clown one in World 2 can eat a buffet of dicks, though. I hate that guy.
The roller coaster one, do you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He can suck my D.
He was great. What about you, Imogen?
I was going to say the same one. I really liked it. Special note to Weird Blueberry Blob Guy, who we spent an extraordinary amount of time trying to get right. Because 2 people on the screen, it was actually really quite difficult to remember which color you were sometimes, especially when lots of stuff's moving on the screen. So a lot of times, like, one of us was like left behind and got smushed by him as he was bouncing around. But, you know, full props to my boyfriend who finished 3 of the levels after I died. And I was just like, please finish the level. I never want to play this again. Please pass it, please pass it, please pass it. Which is the benefit. But no, that flying level was super cool. But I mean, we saw that one in one of the more recent trailers. And the transitions I really liked for that one.
What do you guys think of the parry slap sort of mechanic? Like where anything pink on screen, you can literally sort of double jump off of without taking damage if you time it right to give you that extra move in the game.
Necessary, but I forgot about it more often than I used to
Oh,
until
really?
I got to one point, and it was the tree running level.
Okay.
As soon as I did that, I was like, I see the use of this now. So I went through maybe 3-4 boss fights before I was like, I think I'll start using this a bit more.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
That's pretty much my view on that.
Super handy when you're playing 2-player.
Oh, yeah.
So we used it a lot. There was actually a really cool... So what happens, Jem, is that when you're playing the 2-player, you've got your 3 or 4 health, and then when you get down, you turn into a spooky ghost, and you've got a pink heart. Which, you know, pink in the game means you can parry this. And the way that you resurrect your friend is to get to them and parry on them, hopefully, and they resurrect with 1 life. And we had a great moment, and it was in the horoscopes level, the blimp level, where I died and my boyfriend rezzed me, and then he died, and then I rezzed him, and we continued all the way up the screen until I fell off the top of the screen and he couldn't get me anymore. We got to the end of it, we just high-fived. We were like, okay, we failed, but that was fucking awesome.
I started out the game sort of looking for obvious sort of pink things, but the more I played, the more I realised that they're actually very cleverly blended into stuff around you. Like,
yeah, they're not super obvious at all.
yeah, like that clown level that Ollie was just talking about before. Like, there's a roller coaster sort of carriage that comes across the bottom of the screen that you have to dodge. The nose of the roller coaster is pink, and as soon as I realised that, I was just like, holy shit, I could just bounce off the front of this thing. That's awesome. So, but it's actually, in platforming, it's one of my favourite mechanics. It's something they did really well in Sundered as well. Like when you hit something like at the right moment, you can actually sort of get an additional bounce off it and attack again if you time it right. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of that. I think it's really, really cool. It's I do question how that would work with people who have colorblind issues, though, because I think they'd really struggle to see what's going on there, and that would be there are some bosses that you absolutely need to use that, like the there's the slot machine, like you actually have to bounce off the pink bit of it to finish that fight. Yeah.
That being said, it's flashy and pretty obvious, so
Yeah,
I
the
don't
slot
know.
machine one is really tough 2-player. Really
I
tough.
can imagine. I struggled single player. It took me, I think, like 8 goes to get that guy. Holy shit.
We would have had 10 attempts and we haven't passed that one yet.
I also really like how all of your upgrades have a cost as well, like a payoff. Like there's that one you can get, which is like the homing shot, but it reduces the strength of all your shots pretty significantly. You can get an extra heart as well.
2-player mode,
Yeah.
coordinating what you've got as well, super useful.
Oh, yeah.
So
I can imagine.
I took the lower powered, but I don't have to aim, which we can all understand why, because we played FPSs with Imogen. And
Spray and pray.
but as long as Kirk has the higher power one, then it worked just fine. Kind of I had the surrounding area covered, and he actually killed things.
You
So
suppress
it does
the
make
fire.
things. Yeah, it does make things super slow with the bosses. And the super is not as great as the main one, but trade-offs.
So, Mimo, you played on Xbox, 2-player. I played PC single player. Luke, you played
I went
PC or
Steam.
Xbox?
Yeah, I had to go PC because I don't have the extra Xbox One controller, so I was able to use a 360 controller. Yep.
I was about to ask, and did on controller. So, yeah, I played keyboard. I immediately regretted that decision. I'm like, I really want a controller for this game.
And yet,
oh my god!
I feel that rebinding your keys on control pad is almost compulsory to change what the dash is on.
Oh, I rebinded fucking every key on my keyboard. It was fucking ridiculous.
It's one of the most bizarre default controller schemes I've seen in a while, actually. It's just shit.
For sure.
It's very weird.
That's my one complaint. Well, actually, it's not a complaint because you can actually change it
I have to rebind the controls.
Yeah.
1 out of 10.
It makes you really think about the best way to play, sort of in terms of your manual dexterity, though. But yeah, man. That's probably the only downside I've found with this game so far.
That's what took me back to the original days of gaming, was like Game Boy playing where you had to like use a knuckle and this finger and a weird, and that's what it felt like. I'm constantly holding like fire and then using like the top of my thumb knuckle to like do the dash and the bottom to it was insane.
The thing that got me
the
repeatedly,
Xbox claw was real.
and hurt your hands after a while. I've seen the way you play Ori; it's probably like that all over again. The one bit that I really found frustrating is if you accidentally hit your super at the wrong moment. Like some of the supers actually sort of freeze you in place, kind of like Farah unloading in Overwatch with her missile barrage, where like as soon as you finish the move, you might actually be in a really bad spot and die instantly, depending on what's coming at you. And I didn't want to be hitting that accidentally, and I was always mashing against it until I rebound my keys. So yeah, that was absolute necessity.
So there you go. Cuphead, available on Steam and Xbox. Old school game, thumbs up. Speaking of old school games, Luke, you picked up something nice and old school the other day.
I can speak about old school games. Hell yes. So as I mentioned at the close of last episode, weekend just gone was the launch of the Mini SNES. And I was, I'd say fortunate enough, but it was just a whole bunch of pre-planning. So I was, I guess, awake enough to get that sorted. So rocked up down and I got to say, like, before talking about the Mini SNES as a product, I think that it should be mentioned that Nintendo have actually done a shitload better with the release of this thing than they did the NES, because there was a lot more stock everywhere. It was pretty evident, and there wasn't the mad panic existing, at least for us locally, that there was, that I saw with the NES. So I had mates on Facebook sort of posting even a couple of days after the fact that they'd gone into a few out of the way sort of EB Games places and found a couple left in stock. So I don't think it was quite as insane as it was last time. So good on Nintendo for actually coming through and having a bit of additional stock. There's still a lot of people that missed out.
Yeah. And retailers making it really clear that their restock was happening like the end of this week.
Yes. Yeah. So
nice.
If you didn't get one, it was fine. You had to wait a week, and it wasn't going to be months. So it was a much better. Yeah.
Anything that
much better communication plan.
Anything that sort of cuts the potential secondary sale market on eBay is a good thing, because you don't want people getting scalped. Yeah. So yeah, anyway, picked up the Mini SNES. Immediate thoughts when I opened it up was I knew it was going to be small, but holy shit, this thing is tiny. I've put a bunch of photos up on the Twitters of sort of some size comparisons and stuff, and I've got it sitting on top of my PS4 and my Xbox One just to really show the ridiculous comparison between sizes. I think that if you look at the size of the original SNES cartridges, this thing's probably about as big as two of them stacked on top of each other. Like, it's not much bigger than that. So
tiny.
Yeah, it's awesome. Really lightweight as well. I actually weighed it. It came in at I think it was like 70 grams or something like that, something crazy. So not real heavy at all. This thing is definitely good for travel. And Ollie, I'm going to bring this thing to PAX with us. So because we're sharing the hotel, we could probably play a bit of Mini SNES in the hotel room.
Terrible.
If we get a moment free. So yeah. But yeah, the controllers, again, I mean, you still got a bit of an issue with them being wired and the cord length. It's a lot longer than the NES controller cords were. These ones are actually about 6 foot long, which, is significantly better. Still short and still shorter than the original SNES cords. And, with modern house sizes in this day and age, it's probably more of a problem than it would have been back then. Because people don't tend to like to sit like right in front of their TVs these days. They sit back a little further, but I don't know. It was fine. Like I've got mine set up at my desk, and I'm sort of switching between it on my computer monitor in my nice desk chair, so it's kind of perfect for that kind of setup. And just like Cuphead, I've been playing a bunch of it with my eldest son. So and this is probably the most special thing for me with regards to a re-released console like the Mini SNES, because this is all the stuff that got me into video gaming. Like, this is the stuff that I grew up with when I was, his age, essentially. And being able to go back and actually introduce him to the things that made such an impression on, little Luke, and sort of see how Ben reacts to that kind of stuff at the same age has been a really special experience for me. So it's been great. So we've played a little bit of Super Mario World, introduced him to the greatest video game of all time. He's going to go and play that on his own when I let him have the thing. And, man, Super Metroid's still so goddamn good. Played a little bit of Donkey Kong. He's a bit of a fan of that, so I can see him playing that a bit more. Played a bit of Star Fox 2. Less said about Star Fox 2, the better.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Well, okay, Star Fox 1 is on there as well, and that, was a little bit jarring for its time because of the way that the polygons were quite rough as it was. It was a unique game that kind of had its own, I guess, look and feel, and it was before, 3D gaming was truly a thing because the PlayStation 1 hadn't really come out yet by that time, where it became a much more sort of in vogue thing then. And it was a bit rough back then, really doesn't hold up well now. Star Fox 2, even worse. So, yeah, that's probably the biggest disappointment so far. What I'm really looking forward to getting onto, though, when I've actually got some time to sink into it, is playing a couple of the things that I missed out on sort of way back in that era that I haven't touched all yet, like Earthbound. So I haven't actually played Earthbound at all, and it's supposed to be one of the best JRPGs that have come out around that era, so looking forward to that. And, I also had a crack at Super Punch-Out just to see if, based on our conversation recently about Gamer Rage, that one still set me off, and it does.
Can confirm.
Can confirm. Yeah, things frustrating as hell. So yeah, But
nice.
So Mini SNES, if you can get hold of one, I highly recommend because surprise, surprise, it's really good. I don't think anyone's actually surprised by that. So yeah,
No.
Mm.
Nice. Very cool. All right, Jam. You've been quiet. But you've been playing games as well. So what have you been playing?
Yes. You'll be pleased to know that I've made progress in Horizon Zero Dawn. Woohoo! I'm getting there. I got lost in the environment again, though. I deliberately chose to, hoof it on foot across the entire width of the map because I wanted to see all of the places again. Mm-hmm. So pretty. And then I decided on the weekend to have a quick look at the Minecraft Better Together update on PC. It took a bit of work because I had to figure out how to get my free version. So I've purchased Minecraft on my 360, on my Xbox One, and on PC through a Mojang account. Now that this is all hosted via an Xbox account, I needed to... What you do is you log onto your Mojang account on their website. Somewhere on there, there's a code or link that sends you to the Microsoft Xbox Live login, and that's where you can enter your account details and reclaim it or create a new account if you don't already have an Xbox account. But I finally got it all sorted out after being a bit slow on the uptake.
Jam, just before you go on to your experience with it, I have one question in regards to the platforms that you were sort of sorting it out on. Did you get confused by the fact that the 360 one is not Better Together compatible? Was that something that you...
No, I was just explaining that I had purchased it 3 times and I knew I was entitled to free versions on 2 platforms, but the existing PC account that I had was not linked to my Xbox account in any way, so that's the one that I had to do a few steps on, whereas if I turned on my Xbox One, I would be able to get it free straight up because I own a digital copy.
Gotcha. Yeah.
On my account. So yeah, it was just linking it correctly. So now that it no longer is my Mojang account that I need to worry about. I just need to use my Microsoft account for accessing what is now Minecraft, proper Minecraft. Yeah, I played a little bit of single player just to have a look, and I plugged in my Xbox controller, and man, is it weird. It used to be my preference, but after playing on keyboard so long with all of the keys, at my fingertips quickly, it was awkward. It just felt weird. I ended up putting my controller down and going back to keyboard. But I see slight changes in new additions. I haven't spent much time in it to figure it out. It looks interesting. It's good. I can see how they've programmed it to have all platforms, coordinated together. So it's exciting. I can't wait to play with a bunch of people on different platforms. We should get Realms running again for a month and test it out. Have people jumping on iPad or something. I don't know.
No, I enjoy my sleep too much. Sorry.
And then I jumped on the 3 featured public servers, or I think I jumped on 2 of them, just to check out the mini games that are available on there. And because I didn't know what I was doing, I died pretty quickly. But I tried a couple of different ones. One was sort of a PvP floating islands thing where you got to get to someone's island and kill them, be the last one left standing. Another one was very much like Prop Hunt, but I didn't know how to properly play it, so I was just relying on being sneaky and hiding behind objects. But it's neat. There's so many people connecting. I'm looking forward to figuring out how to connect to a sort of massive multiplayer replay world, which I think will be really exciting, although also probably traumatic from trolls.
Probably the latter.
Yeah.
Depending on the server.
That's the kind of thing that I'm keen on, though, like being able to go in and play like sort of generic Minecraft with all the standard sort of survival rules and stuff intact without it being minigames. Because I think that...
And exploring and stumbling across people's... I'd love to build like a little house that's almost indistinguishable from, you know, an organic hill or something. And then someone will discover it one day and pop their head in and go, oh...
Yeah.
Look what I found, and then trash it.
That's the exact appeal for me too, and discovering other people's stuff too. Because I think that, you know, the ability for people to be madly creative with the usual constraints of resources in that game, and I'm sure that there would be some massive competition over certain resources in a confined environment like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but it'd be really interesting to see how people
cool.
solve those puzzles, you know, in that kind of way. That would be great.
Oh, I foresee, you know, clans, people banding together, like to get things done, to protect what's theirs. It'll be interesting. It'll be very interesting sociological thing. But yeah, it's neat. I want to try it out some more when I've got some time.
Nice. All right. And Luke, you had a Minecraft experience a little bit different to Jams, I believe.
Yeah, so I actually meant to talk about this last week, but, you know, in my adult sort of plagued state, I kind of neglected to do so. So I super recently actually took my son... It's been a real... I've been talking about my boy a lot tonight. It's been good. Nice theme. So we've been sharing a lot of video game stuff lately, as it turns out. He's on school holidays at the moment, and something I planned to take him to a number of months back, because tickets went on sale earlier this year, was actually... he's a big YouTube fan. Like, he's got his YouTube sort of content creators that he follows, because that's what kids do in this day and age. And God damn it, I feel old when I talk like that. But his big
old man
his favorite content creator on YouTube is one of now the most popular Minecraft YouTubers by the name of Dan TDM, or the Diamond Minecart, as he's better known. So. For anyone who remembers this, a while back when I talked about the Telltale Minecraft game on the show, the Minecraft story mode, there was an episode later on in that series where they actually got some of the most famous YouTubers around the world to actually come onto that game as characters. Now, he's one of the ones that was selected to do that, so he's actually been immortalized in the Telltale Minecraft game as well. So he's one of the definitely more successful ones. Now, this guy's become so successful, and he has kind of diversified a little bit. Like, he doesn't do just Minecraft content. It's certainly what he's most known for, but he's does a whole bunch of other stuff now. He's diversified to the point where he's actually basically doing like a world tour, and he's going around to all these different countries and doing essentially a stage show. And I got Ben tickets to it, sort of in secret, and then told him about it, and he lost his shit. It was really cute. And took him to it a couple of weekends ago. And it was an interesting experience. Like, it was... I didn't know what to expect actually going and seeing a YouTuber on stage. I was just like, what the hell is this going to be like? It's not like you're going to be sitting down watching him play video games for, you know, an hour or two. He's going to have to come up with other stuff to engage a large audience. And it was a large audience. Let me tell you, holy crap. This thing sold out in minutes. It was ridiculous. Like, I nearly missed out on tickets because I underestimated how popular it was going to be. So, but I think what he's done is actually really clever. What he's kind of done is he's changed the format of what he does sort of online to, in stage show form, be very, very video game related, but kind of more of a blend between what I would consider a YouTuber mixed with like the Wiggles would be, essentially. So I think the content he does online is pitched at a slightly more medium age bracket, whereas the stage show is probably pitched at a bit more of a young age. But it was actually really interesting. Like, he obviously had some you know, shovelware style games sort of put together for the pure purpose of showing them on stage and getting the audience involved in that kind of stuff. He had a few kids sort of selected from the audience going up and you know, playing against him, or, you know, various characters as part of his cast as this kind of thing. And I didn't get bored at any point during the whole thing, even though it was probably pitched at, you know, kids, up to 10 years of age. I just sat there and thought, well, this is a really fucking interesting thing to observe, essentially. So, yeah,
That's cool.
It was good. I would definitely take Ben to something like that again. But yeah, it was a strange window into video games and younger kids in this day and age, and the kind of stuff that I would never have considered when we were younger. So, yeah, and his YouTube content's good. So if you ever want to check out some light, wholesome YouTube content that's good for a young age, like anyone out there who's got kids that might enjoy that sort of thing, you should check out Dan TDM on YouTube. He's pretty easy to find. So, yeah, and that was that. Mm-hmm. That was cool.
Very cool. All right. I guess without any further ado, we hit the news of the week. Mm-hmm. So the timing for this one was really awkward, actually, because it dropped literally right after recording last week, apparently. Mm-hmm. So a little trailer dropped for a small little indie game by a niche company, and the game is Red Dead Redemption 2. Mm-hmm. So the trailer for that...
that little thing.
Yeah, I hope it goes well. We'll see how it goes. So have you guys all watched it, out of curiosity, before I get going? Yep. Okay. So with this trailer, it definitely is more based on the single player and the story campaign side of things. There wasn't any multiplayer stuff, or not like overt multiplayer stuff shown. And I'm liking the style of the story, but I'm a little bit disappointed. Now, bear with me here. Would you say it looks like GTA 5 did, or GTA, sorry, did 5 years ago?
In what specific respect?
It graphically.
Graphically, as in environmentally, or as in the mechanics of the characters?
Both.
I would say no.
I would say no.
But
see, I found it looked incredibly dated.
Yeah, no. I would say no, but I would say no because I think that the GTA 5 stuff at that time actually looked better than this.
What?
Yeah.
Hang on. Okay. So, I agree the characters looked a bit rubbishy and janky, but I think the environments looked swell.
I'll give you the environments. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm not disappointed because from a Rockstar game, my focus is not on the characters, like, physics and mechanics. They're not awful. They don't look like they've improved from GTA 5. But for a Rockstar game, I want environments. I want a sandbox to play in. I want excellent dialogue and a great narrative. And I see those things in this trailer, albeit it's a short trailer. So I'm
very
super excited. I'm very excited.
Yeah, fair enough. I thought visually it was a bit of a letdown. I was like, considering like games like Horizon Zero Dawn and whatnot, obviously different engines, and one engine has to be optimized for multiplayer online, the other one doesn't.
Yeah.
But even then, I was like, man, it does just looks a bit dated. But I agree. The story elements looked really cool. The voice acting seemed very solid. Like the plot elements seemed very cool. So yeah, I'm intrigued by it. I'm not obviously excited like Jam. I'm cautiously optimistic. I hope it's good. I don't want it to be bad. No one wants a bad game unless they're assholes or the competition. But yeah, I'm very cautiously optimistic. What Mimo and Luke, what did you guys think?
You go, Mimo.
I mean, for me, it's still an early game trailer, so I'm always that person that's like, look, they're trying to gain interest, and it was interesting, but I agree, it didn't look brilliant, and I feel like they went with more game realistic footage than making it a big, huge cinematic thing. Maybe. Yeah, I'm like, I agree with Jam. I don't need their games to be pretty. I just need them to be good. That makes sense.
I have every confidence that the game will be unreal. And looking at a bit of history when it comes to Rockstar and game announcements and trailers and that kind of thing, they are always very reserved in how much they show. Like GTA 5 was no different. They they really did hold back quite a bit early on with what they showed and what the final end product ended up being with that game. And it does make me wonder a little bit whether what their approach is kind of similar to how they did it with GTA 5 with the 3 different characters, and they kind of were able to, I guess, leak bits of content for each of them specifically and separately as part of the promotion for the game. So whether, because they've kind of tested that model and it works, we're going to see a similar thing with Red Dead where like we actually see the tale of a few different characters as opposed to just this one. But like as the trailer stands, I thought it was very average. Like I wasn't impressed by it at all. And it wasn't just because of the graphics. It's just because the the stuff that they showed, like the environment stuff was great. It showed me like what I would imagine, playing a game in the Wild West, to look like, and that aspect was cool, but the characters did nothing for me. Like they didn't really show enough for me to feel any kind of, I guess, positive connection with the guy. And I didn't have any of the background history knowledge with the original Red Dead Redemption to sort of understand where he fits into like the Dutch's gang and that kind of thing. So yeah, I don't mean to be down on it because I'm sure it'll still be a great game, but the trailer just did nothing for. And I mean, granted, this is in a month where we've seen some pretty freaking excellent trailers in other areas. Like, holy shit, you can't come off seeing like the trailer for the new Punisher Netflix TV series and see this and think that the two are on the same level, because they're not. But I just don't think the trailer was kind of focused enough, I guess is what I'm getting at, which you'll see.
Okay, there you go. So Red Dead Redemption 2 trailer, mixed opinions.
Yeah.
So Luke, because it's coming out on PlayStation, I believe you have something PlayStation related to talk about.
Yeah, just this would be an interesting one to bring up because I think it was a little bit of a surprise for some, and it relates to something we haven't talked about a whole bunch this year. So it's been I think it's been over a year now since PSVR was first released. So PlayStation VR, it's just been announced this week that there's actually a new updated version of the hardware that's going to be coming out soon. So, which, I mean, not that there's anything wrong with the previous model, so this was kind of a little bit surprising, but there's a new model coming out which is going to be a more slim, sort of streamlined model, which has a upgraded connection cable, different integration of how the headphone cables sort of connect up directly into the headset. And I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the headphone sort of setup with this thing, because it's like the earbead sort of setup that you would have if you were, just listening to music with, just regular iPhone headphones or something like that. And for me, like our VR product is, when you start to put those kind of headphone devices in there, it starts to add a bit of flimsy aspect to the product that you kind of want to be a bit hardy. So not a huge fan of that. Not to mention that, if you're ever sharing a VR headset, you're already dealing with face rabies and you don't want to have headphones getting shared
Face
too.
rabies?
You know what I mean.
My
Face
face
rabies.
are well under control, thank you.
Remind me never to share a VR headset with Luke. Jesus.
Yeah. So, I don't know. The hardware recently got a price drop. There was an article that hit recently too where the PlayStation execs were talking about the fact that they're leading the market so hard in VR at the moment. Like they're miles ahead of Vive and Oculus, that they actually don't see that as a good thing. They want more competition because it's kind of like a rising tide floats all boats situation when it comes to a new medium like virtual reality. And if they're the only ones, really doing well in the market, then there's not enough developers that kind of want to forge ahead with that kind of stuff. So, and I think that's a huge problem. Like if I was a games developer in this kind of market, putting something together for VR would be a very risky proposition, I think. So, and we still haven't seen a breakout title. Like I think that probably the closest we've come is Resident Evil 7, but even that wasn't VR exclusive. It was available sort of, to play regularly. And even though there's some other big games that are coming out on VR, we've got Skyrim and Doom that are being developed by Bethesda. Again, they're games that have already been played in a non-VR sort of realm, and they're not new titles either. So I'm curious, like this far on from how much of a topic VR was during 2016, because we talked about it a lot on the show last year. Like, how are you all sort of feeling on VR at the moment? Like, do you think that this is VR dead? Do you think that VR's really struggling at the moment? Do you think it's just been a very, very kind of slow burn, but it will get there? Is this going to go the way of 3D TV? What do you all think about that at the moment? I'm curious.
I don't think it's a 3D TV at all. I think that it's a new technology that will take people a while to grasp, and I think that VR extends past video games. So VR will be used in lots of different ways. So I don't think at all that it's dead.
What she said.
Yeah. Does it excite you from the prospect of actually experiencing it yourself for video games, or is it something you're just not interested in as a gamer at all?
Yeah, definitely. 110%. Moss, coming to you 2018. Down with it.
Yeah. It's affordability / optimal usage of, or making best usage of. More and more things will come out for it that are really good and fun. And then I will buy one. Basically. Yeah.
It'll happen.
It's the first wave,
Yeah.
New tech never is successful on the first wave.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's slowed down. I don't think it's dead, and I feel like it will begin to pick up. Just, again, for the same reason. It's new tech. first early adopters have gone through, and now you're hopefully going to get to the point where they start bringing down the price, the affordability, and then the technology starts improving, essentially. Kind of like how laptops went. So you had these giant clunky things, and eventually got smaller, sleeker, that were really expensive, and you have these small, sleek things that are actually affordable. So I can see it going very similar way in that the price is going to lower, and the specs are going to get better because they'll find cheaper and better ways to make it. And once you hit that sort of critical mass of performance versus cost, then you'll see it snowballing.
I think there's been an ongoing theme the last few years when it comes to like risky hardware propositions. And Switch is probably a good example of this as well, where the things that have ultimately ended up being successful, and we're seeing this with the Nintendo Switch now, is it's always the stuff that has had the software to back it up. Like when there's the game library that actually makes it an exciting proposition, that far above and beyond the hardware itself is what has made the difference. So, yeah. Sorry, Imogen.
Yeah, not Imogen.
Oh, sorry, Jam.
Good one.
My bad.
I'm super keen on seeing what AR is going to do in the market. I think the HoloLens is going to be really, really cool. I think it's going to have applications that VR doesn't, gaming or otherwise. And yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how the two different sort of formats are utilized. So it's cool.
Yeah. All right.
It's exciting.
All right. Well, that's our check-in on VR. We'll probably talk about this again in another year's time. We'll see. Well, actually,
hopefully less.
That's probably not fair. Like, we've got the PlayStation Experience Conference coming up after our PAX this year. I think it's usually around November, December. And, given where Sony is currently, they're probably going to have a few announcements to make in that space. So I'm curious to see what comes out of that this year.
Actually, on that note, I'm very curious to see how much VR there is at PAX this year versus last year.
Oh, for us, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm actually very curious about that. If there's going to be more, less, or the same amount. I'm actually genuinely curious now.
Well, it was the new hotness for the event last year.
Do you reckon it'll hold up? Time will tell. Time will tell.
It's already been announced. One of the 4 indie showcases is a VR game that V from Stirfire recommended that we check out, the 4 of us. So already at least some there. And it looks pretty cool too.
I will always happily play more VR games. All right. Speaking of playing games.
Hells yeah.
We are now on to the Party Game of the Month review. Drum roll.
I can't do the Vuvuzela that you can do, Ollie. Hang on, I'll try. Oh, maybe I can. Oh, that was all right.
It's an air horn, you peasant.
All right, whatever.
Anyway, Jam, what is the name of the game we are playing?
The name is Witch It.
Witch It. So for those of you that don't know anything about Witch It, or which sort of game it is, which is fair. Oh, that was a tongue twister. Anyway, basic game information. It is essentially a game of hide and seek themed witch versus villager, but with a twist. The witches can transform themselves into objects around the map.
It's Prop Hunt!
For those of you that have no idea what Prop Hunt is, if you've played Prop Hunt, you know exactly what it is. It's witch-themed Prop Hunt. I was explaining it for those of you that hadn't played Prop Hunt.
I know.
But yeah, so it's villagers versus witches. Witches can become a prop anywhere on the map, and essentially you have a time limit. You have to hide. If any witches are left hidden at the end of the round, they win. If the hunters go around or the villagers go around and manage to potato them enough, then they win.
That makes sense.
I hope so.
Potatoing meaning
potato.
attacking. Yeah.
Well, they throw potatoes, it's a thing.
Yeah. It would hurt.
Okay, don't judge me.
It would definitely hurt.
Oh, mate. Have you ever been hit by a potato that's been thrown? I have. It hurts.
I have too. It actually really does freaking hurt. Yeah.
Yeah, Jam.
Is this
a
something I've
non-cooked
missed
potato.
out on?
Do you want me to throw a potato at you?
No.
Good. That means you know
Why
it hurts.
did you have a potato? What did you do?
Because I had siblings. It's simple as that.
I had siblings.
Clearly mine are assholes.
I'm pretty sure I threw a rock at one of them once.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, clearly mine
Probably
are
should
less
have been
assholes.
a potato.
Anyway, so it is available on Steam for a $14.99 USD price. So it is available if you have an internet connection, basically. So, general game mechanics. I guess, how would you best describe it? Jam, you were super excited about this game, so I'm going to throw to you a lot.
Okay, all right. So, you start level, and you can either select your side or get randomly allocated to be a hunter or a witch. And then the hunters sort of get stuck in a room for 30 seconds or so while the witches get a chance to hide. So they quickly run around this cute, cartoony little level that's a bit blockish to help things blend and not stand out too much. I think it really works for the game. They can left-click on non-fixed object in the level and instantly transform into one that looks exactly like it, and then move around the level as that shape. So if they become a really tiny object, they can suddenly fit in really tiny places or through tiny gaps to hide and sneak around. If you're an object that has an interactive element, like a candle or a lantern or a gramophone, you can press E to activate that. So the candle's little flame goes on and off, or the lantern switches on and off, or the gramophone starts playing music.
That was one of the funniest things.
Most fun.
I think it was you actually, Jamie. Like, I was hiding at one moment, and I was just like, I saw this gramophone suddenly appear out of nowhere and just like absolutely like do a burnout down the hall, just like.
Yeah. So basically, when the 30 seconds are up, which is a shit out of luck, and the hunters get released from their room, and they can start running through the level, and they have this little sort of energy meter at the bottom of their screen, and an infinite supply of potatoes. So they can throw a potato at any object they see. And if it's just an ordinary object, it'll knock it a little, and that's all. If it's a witch disguised as an object, they'll hear a little yell and they'll see some purple sparks. And more often than not, that object will start running away really fast, or shifting, or floating, or however the hell they think they can get away. If you throw too many potatoes at once, you'll lose your stamina from the bar at the bottom, and suddenly your potato throws become much shorter and less frequent. So that's the trade-off to you spamming that key, which gives the witches a chance to get away if you're a little ambitious, I guess. And then you keep going in the standard format until, all the witches are found or the time runs out. And it's really neat, and it's so much fun. So we had one session that I didn't set up properly, and that we tried a different mode. So the standard mode is just basic hide and seek. There's also a mobification mode, which is quite fun in big groups, especially with people who've become very canny at hiding in the levels. There's 8 different levels in total. What mobification does is you can start with only 1 or 2 hunters in a group, like a larger group. We had 7 playing the other night, and it was amazing. And as they find people, it's like zombie mode. As they find people and successfully knock their health down, which is determined by the size object you are. So if you're a tiny little candle, a couple of potatoes will take you out. If you're an enormous,
like a ladder or something,
lavatory, or a ladder, or a giant wheel of cheese, or a huge hay bale, you'll have a lot more health. It'll take a lot more work, but you stand out. It's a lot harder for you to get away.
That's a great incentive, though. Like I like being tempted to do that.
It's cool. So in mobification, when your health gets knocked to 0, instead of just dying and becoming a spectator, you actually get turned into a hunter. So slowly the hunter's strength grows and they can cover more ground, and the witches diminish and they find it harder and harder to hide. And the really neat thing is both classes have a special ability to help them out. So I've found the starting abilities of the ones I've unlocked so far are the most useful. The hunters get a chicken with a cooldown. And what you do is you throw that chicken, and where it lands, it has this radius effect. And if any witch is hiding in that radius, it'll start crowing. It'll be yelling at you, and things will be flashing yellow, and it tells you that a witch is in that immediate vicinity. It's very handy to narrow down where to look because the levels are quite big. The objects that spawn in the levels are randomized each time, so you can't just memorize where the apples spawn or where that wheel of cheese is supposed to be sitting. It's truly random. I've seen so many different variations on the same maps. It's very clever.
That being said, if you see a sofa bed on the roof? If you see a sofa bed sitting on top of a roof somewhere, it's a little bit of a giveaway, but yeah.
Maybe not. You never know. One day.
Yep.
And the witches, their starting power is the ability to fly for a short spell with a cooldown as well. So they can use it in an emergency to get over an obstruction that the hunters wouldn't be able to try and break the line of sight, turn into something else, and tuck themselves away and hide again. It's quite hard once you've been spotted to get away, depending on the object you've turned into. So that's quite useful.
10 giant cheese wheels.
Yeah. And the other neat thing is there's a function for the witches. When you're disguised as an object, you can hold down left shift, and that allows or helps your object orient itself naturally. So if you're a candle, it'll try and stand up on end instead of being tipped over, so that you can actually blend into the environment a little more. And if you hold that shift while you're moving around, rather than tipping end over end for your object, which can be very awkward depending on the shape you've chosen, you can instead slide around in the correct orientation. So it's a little swifter. So, yeah, I think mobbification was my favorite when we had a bunch of people. And the reason I went the gramophone that one time was because I set it up wrong. We accidentally spawned in with 6 witches and only 1 hunter. So I was trying to make it easy for Al to get one of us. So I was just zooming around this island as a gramophone with my music up loud. But he was still learning how to play. He didn't catch me for a while. But it was the best.
Yeah, it was funny.
So I guess the main difference between this game and Prop Hunt is definitely the aesthetic and the sound design. Imogen, how would you describe the art style for this game?
Spyro. Original Spyro.
Ooh, that's a good
Oh my
comparison.
God, you're so right.
I wish I could high-five you right now.
Yeah.
That is spot on.
Yeah.
I played a lot of Spyro, guys.
Me too. I just never drew that comparison. That's a perfect comparison.
There's a bit of Crash Bandicoot
sup-
sort of style in there as well, but it's the same kind of
Yeah,
thing.
super cartoonish, very rounded assets that you can tell are mostly like simple shapes mushed together. But it's good, like purposeful. Like it fitted what we were doing. So
Yeah.
definitely not like what we would call polished, inverted commas, but definitely Spyro.
Yeah. I think for me the biggest difference that this game has versus Prop Hunt, and I think this is why potentially I like it more than Prop Hunt, is the sound element. So every time a witch uses, say, the levitate power, you hear this sort of like twinkly magic sound. That was a ghost sound. I know. I'm terrible at twinkly magic sounds. Likewise, whenever they change into an object, there's a magical sound. Whenever an object moves, you can hear it scraping. You can hear like it bumping into things.
And it's all proximity based.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas, say, in Prop Hunt, you turn to a prop. That's it. You can zoom around the floor as much as you want. You won't make a sound. And you can change as much as you like, and that won't make a sound. So you don't know when someone's changed the shape. Pros and cons, I guess. But I really like the sound element.
I do have
think
one
it-
complaint about that, though. I think,
Okay.
yeah, I think you made really good points, and those abilities sort of having a sound cost is really, really good from a gameplay perspective. I like the fact that taunts are included, like the fact that you can actually press a couple of buttons and make like a witchy, cackly kind of taunt noise to sort of help the villagers find you if it's a particularly long game or if they really are struggling. But what I think is a huge missed opportunity is that they haven't actually tied that into the game mechanics more. Like, I like that it's there, but I'd like it to give some kind of advantage to the witches as an incentive to use it, because otherwise it's just relying on pure sportsmanship and that's it. So I think it was a good opportunity for them to put something like that in there, and they maybe missed a beat on that.
Well,
Or even the opposite of sportsmanship.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I tried to use it to the group's benefit at one point when there was a hunter getting quite close to one of my witch friends. But I don't think I was close enough because they just did not notice.
As an example, one thing they could have done was maybe like each time you cackle, give you maybe like a bump of 5 health or something like that, just as a way to give you something in return for risking it.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I understand that. But yeah, having played Prop Hunt where taunts are, again, completely optional as well, yeah, it's basically either sportsmanship for going, I'm going to help you out, I'm in a bit of a dickish spot, so here we go. Or just, I'm so cocky in my ability right now. Lol. Come find me. I dare you.
Well, you do have a score at the end of the round too, so it could easily just be adding to your score, like if it didn't want to actually change the gameplay
That's
aspects.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd prefer it just for that. Like if it just added to the score or something like that. I don't know. It's an interesting one. But yeah, I guess really we can wrap up our final thoughts. So, Luke, final thoughts on the game.
Look,
What do you think?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was decent fun. I questioned the replayability of it because I think I mean, and this is for me personally, I think I'd probably get a little bit sick of it after a while. I think there's a point at which I would have had my fill, put it that way. But I think the same would be true of Prop Hunt as well. So that's not casting shade on it. I did had a couple of issues with some of the weird stuff that could happen that could kind of break the game a little bit. Like, I wasn't a massive fan of the fact that you could, as a witch, particularly if you can fly, if you've taken like the broomstick ability, you can get yourself into positions where, unless the villagers have taken like the grappling hook specifically, like they could literally never get to where you are. Like if you're up on a gap between a couple of roofs and there's no access point for the villagers, which, you know, there's a few spots where that's definitely the case. I think it makes it a bit broken that they kind of can't see you and get to you, so that and it's a bit more common than maybe you'd think. So that was one thing. Yeah,
I've been quite mobile. If you know where you can jump and where the ladders spawn,
it might require a bit more testing. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
There's probably a bit that can be done still. I just think that even if there is a way for them to get there, the amount of time they waste doing that potentially is maybe too large an advantage. So,
something that flips that on. I jumped on some public servers just to have some fun in some public games, and it's when you've got like a full complement of people, 16 players, you tend to end up with a range of abilities among the hunters, which makes that very balanced because a few tend to just go straight up to the rooftops looking.
Right.
And then there's others throwing chickens out to draw attention for any hunters nearby. And I forget what the other two are.
Yeah.
So it works with more players. Like, that's far less noticeable.
Yeah. So with a balance of abilities rather than just everyone having the same one.
That's it. And when it's a coordinated strategy with the hunters too, I think that definitely would change because you'd kind of cover your gaps a bit better if you talk about strategy beforehand. But I don't know. That was just an observation. I think the game does work a lot better with larger numbers, which is not a surprise. And
I agree.
I'm a little disappointed that all of the unlocks are sort of like for the abilities are kind of staggered at different levels. Like I would have liked to jump into that game and actually try out some of the other abilities without having to grind to get to unlock them, like to see what the other power options were. Because the starting abilities were quite obviously better, but I kind of would like to make that decision by seeing some of the others in action rather than just a grayed out spot that doesn't really give you a lot of information until you grind up to unlock it. So that was a little bit of a fail, I thought. But I don't know. Like, I enjoy the game. I don't know if it's worth $15. It's probably a bit steep for my taste, but that's kind of where I landed on it.
Fair enough. All right, Mimo, what do you reckon? Your final thoughts?
I think it is a good game and it has its place. I agree on the replayability on some aspects, but I think the place that it has is if you can jump online and play with lots of friends, it would be super fun. And there's not many games that you and 15 of your friends can play together.
True.
Reliably, which this seemed to do quite well. So, and lots of different modes and things like that. So I think it's a good way to sort of a good party game. I think it's got its place there. I do agree. I think $15 is a bit steep for it. I thought it was early access, but obviously It is, yeah. So I feel like much more is coming to it. I feel like this is early days.
Jam, how about you then?
I really enjoyed it. It is my kind of fun game. There are 8 levels, and I found the level design of each one to be quite good. There are a couple that don't seem quite as fun, just because it's maybe harder to find hiding spots. But even for the levels that are large and quite busy with buildings and have a lot going on in 3 dimensions, I think there's a surprising lack of nooks to actually get lost in. When you move around the levels a lot, the hunters have pretty good line of sight, except for those few areas that require you to climb up or go through a door. And they're really cute. There's different themes. There's a Halloween-themed town. There's a snow one with snowmen. There's a really cool big castle with a library inside and then a hedge maze out the back.
That one's cool.
So they're not tiny.
maze.
And there are single-use springboards that randomly spawn around levels with tall buildings.
Which are loud as hell.
That's another way. They're very loud. They draw the attention, but they let the hunters chase the witches up to tall heights or let the witches get away quickly if they can get to that springboard slightly ahead of a hunter because it'll vanish after they've used it, which I think is really crafty. I think it's funny, these big fat villagers with their burping taunts chasing these ugly little witches who turning into wheels of cheese. It's neat. And the variety of objects that you can turn into is quite surprising. And they're themed by level. So on the island, you can turn into this bear that's been made out of fruit, for example, or seashells, or like little popsicle sticks or beach balls. Whereas in the Halloween level, you've got pumpkins, you've got lanterns, you've got different things. So I love the effort that's been put into it. I've already gotten 5 hours of enjoyment out of it for $15. And I think it's worth the price if you've got a group of friends who want to play. That's probably the kicker for this game and this price. If you can convince, and we managed to drag in a few other friends with very little persuasion.
I think, what, 3?
Yeah.
You managed to drag in? Without just going, play this game. They're like, yeah, all right.
Yeah, they saw us playing it. They're like, oh, all right, let me download it. And it didn't take long. For an early access game, I think there's a huge amount of enjoyment. I know my brother who recommended this has played it a lot more, and apparently there are secrets that we haven't seen and objects that you can turn into that are hidden.
Oh.
I want to explore this game more. I really hope we keep playing it. It's going to be one of those fun, let's muck around in this for half an hour, for a few rounds while we wait for someone to jump online or someone to have dinner.
Hang on, that's intriguing.
Yeah.
If there's a hidden object that you can turn into, like if it's that uncommon, wouldn't it be super obvious when you turn into it?
I know, right? I have to look into it further.
Huh.
That is as much as I know. So I'm not sure about the factual details, but yeah, it's cool. I think it's a great idea. It's a huge improvement on Prop Hunt, which is just a Gary's mod. And I love the effort that's been put into it. So I thoroughly recommend it for fun times with friends.
Isn't it
Nice.
strangely ironic that it's actually landed for us at the beginning of October, like Halloween month as well? We did not plan that. Total coincidence.
Yeah, actually,
It's cool.
putting it like that, it was planned all along. Yeah, I guess I'll echo a bit more of Jam's thoughts. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I come from having played a shitload of Prop Hunt. So I was very keen for this game. I genuinely do like this game more than Prop Hunt.
Yeah.
For the reasons I said before, the sound design helping out the hunters, the abilities to get the AoE stuff, because in Prop Hunt, you can become like a teeny tiny mouse. They're never going to get you. And it's just like, it's the most frustrating thing. And the point you said, Luke, with the height thing, because the witches can fly, the hunters don't, I think that encourages a more balanced team design. I do agree with your gripe, though, on that the grind to unlock that team balance should, if it is there, it should be much shorter than what it is.
Yep.
I feel like having here's your starting items is a good thing. I do feel they should open up much faster than what they do.
Yeah, maybe start with 3 options and then add a few from there. I think could have been better.
Or even just one and then just have the level progression just be super fast.
Yeah.
Like you get it after 2 games or something like that. That I feel would be much fairer. But yeah, I love the art style. Now that Mimo said Spyro, I actually think for me it reminds me of like the first person view of Dungeon Keeper.
Oh,
A
yes.
lot.
Yeah.
That sort of grainy polygon style. And I love it for that. I love the aesthetic. I wish there was more springboards in some levels to help with the movement. I do wish there was a couple more springboards. But the level design, I have to tip my hat a little bit, even though I'm not wearing one. It is genuinely clever level design. Like Jam said, there's a few nooks, but they're not excessive. And there's good line of sight for the hunters, so it actually makes the witch's life quite difficult. Because even though there is the sheer volume of props on the maps is huge, like absolutely ginormous number of props. And so to make it a fair game, they need those line of sights. I genuinely like that. I was like, this is really cool. And then you find your little nook and cranny, you're like, yes, at last. And they throw a chicken in and you're rumbled. So it's a really nice game balancing mechanic. So yeah, I agree. I reckon it's going to be a fun little like afternoon, like, what do you feel like playing? Oh, do you want to play some Witcher? Yeah, all right, let's play some Witcher sort of thing. And that'll be good. I reckon it'd make a fantastic drinking game.
Oh,
Holy
yeah.
shit.
Yes.
Like, every time you're found, have a drink. No, God.
Oh, holy crap. That would be great. Yep.
Or every time you find a witch, have a drink. There you go. I've just solved someone's, like, nerdy Saturday night for them.
And it has to be vodka because the things are throwing potatoes at you. That's totally in theme.
Or a Guinness.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think overall we all enjoyed Witcher with only, like, some minor, like, bits and pieces here. So yeah, Witcher. Check it out. it looks pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And yeah, $14.99. I'm okay with the price. I do think it's a little much, but I'm okay with it because of the amount of enjoyment I've gotten out of it. And yeah, available on Steam. I don't know if there's any plans for other platforms at this point, but definitely Steamage. So now I guess we have to go to our next party game of the month. Mm-hmm. Now this will be a little bit different because we will have our PAX time, which will limit our party game time. So this will actually be a 2-monther. Mm-hmm. So it will last for 2 months. Luke, what are the rules for Party Game of the Month?
All right, so for Party Game of the Month, what we're looking for people to do is to send in suggestions to us, and the kind of games that we're after is games that are available on multiple platforms. So it is okay to recommend us a game that is sort of like on a PlayStation or on an Xbox, but make sure it's not just on that. So it needs to be available to us on multiple platforms because we have multiple consoles and PC and all that sort of stuff. Mobile games are fine too, but again, make sure it's available on multiple things. $30 is the limit, so we don't want to play anything more expensive than that because we do a lot of these during the year and cost adds up. It needs to be available to us digitally because Jam is someone who does not ever want to go outside for any reason at all.
Dude, guess what?
What?
I hurt my ankle the other day after having a nap.
Of course you fucking did.
hell.
Jesus.
I stood up funny and went, oh.
So, yeah, we want to keep Jam safe, and that's the whole reason why we don't want people to have to go outside and buy games. And because nobody does that anymore. Let's be real.
Hashtag keep Jam safe.
Yeah, that's right.
While we're at.
Yeah, but we want games that are generally, fun and that we can get a really good feel of in, just a few hours. So we certainly don't want to be playing anything for more than 10 hours to get an idea. That's way too long. Something we can, just get a sample of and have a pretty good idea of in a short space of time. And bonus points if you can recommend something to us that is online multiplayer, because that gives us a good chance to sort of all hop on together and play as a group. It doesn't have to be, but if it is, that's cool. So you can send your suggestions in via all the usual means. So post it on Facebook, send it in to our email, mail@partyloaded.com, and you can @partyloadedshow on Twitter and post your ideas there too. We keep a running list of them and roll up a random one every time we make a selection. So if you don't get your game picked, it stays on the list until eventually it probably will. So there you go.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I have the device of random generation in front of me. Mm-hmm. So, I need to exit the document so I'm not biased, because that's always fun. Alright, so I will roll with my dog on my lap as my witness. He's looking at me very oddly right now, because I'm just shaking a dice in my hand. He's like, what are you doing? You're a Muppet. Ooh, I rolled a critical failure. What is number 1?
Okay, so that's the one that has been added today to the list on the recommendation of my brother, who recommended Witcher. It's Golf with Your Friends.
I've actually heard really good things about this game. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And Mimo was saying she wanted to play a golfing game. This is perfect!
Is this the
Did you
first
hear my
sports
plan,
game
Mimo?
we've had?
Oh.
Sports
Ball.
Yay! Tiny sports balls.
When I went
The
to add
best
it to the
sports
list, I went, I'm not going to add it at the end. I'm going to add it at the front so all the numbers change up. We get some refreshingness, and then it stole it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad, because then we would have been playing the other game that would have been number 1, and I don't have time for that.
No.
What's that one?
So, Golf with Your Friends. I don't have Steam open. Does anyone have Steam open? I think it's about $7 US-ish, 6 maybe.
Mm-hmm. I have
Sure.
Early access and looks freaking hilarious. It's just mini golf. You are the ball. You don't get a stick.
Oh,
You just sort of
that's how it
control the ball.
It is
I think you have a jumping mechanic.
$5.99. It is early access.
And you do have a putter jam.
Online multiplayer, cross-platform multiplayer.
Whoa.
Overall, very positive of 8,000 reviews for those playing at home.
So it seems alright.
Wow. This is a
yeah,
group game.
up to 12
we have to play
players.
together.
Yes. So
We
this
have
is
to play
another
together.
game that we will convince other people to join us
Yes.
when we all jump on a random
Ow.
game and everyone in our Steam list goes, the crap are you guys playing now?
It looks hilarious. It's cartoony. It's funny because you can like random spawn your balls into different shapes. So you might accidentally be a cone or a puck or a cube, which
Apologies
completely throws off the physics.
apologies if we've mentioned this before, but it's by Blacklight Interactive. Is the developer / publisher.
Yay! I'm excited to play this.
Nice.
Well, there we go. Guess that's the end of the episode. So if you wish to do stuff with us, and you have to send us stuff and that sort of thing. Hold on, I'm opening up the document so I don't have the details in front of me right now. All right, so you can email us at mail@partyloaded.com, our Facebook, which is partyloaded, our Twitter, which is @partyloadedshow, and our YouTube channel, which Luke is constantly churning out new stuff for, right, Luke? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
I've got a backlog,
YouTube.com.
but yes.
There you go, /channel endgame. What's up for next week? What's people got planned?
It's a really good
Is there a
question.
plan?
There was something really...
Doesn't sound like
Probably
there's a
get
plan.
back to Destiny.
Oh!
I've been neglecting Destiny.
Oh, I know what it is. I have to check the dates, but I think that the South Park The Fractured Butthole is out next week. I think, yeah.
Damn!
I'm just checking.
I have to get
Damn,
that.
Daniel. All right. I guess,
think
I
for
got to finish
me-
Cuphead. Sorry, Mima.
Yeah, that's right. I was just going to say probably more Cuphead and Destiny. Maybe Persona 5, but I'm not making any promises. I feel like I need like chunk time to go back to that game.
That's what I did with Horizon, and it was good. I had a few hours where I said, I'm not going to talk to other people. And it was well worth it. It was so good to get lost in the world again.
Mima, I would like you to
Persona's
make
great.
one promise with regards to Persona 5, because I know you've got the physical copy. When you finish it, can you please pass it over to me? Because I really want to play that game.
Sure, you can have it now.
Fantastic.
Oh, no, that's okay. I'm not in a hurry because there's a lot of shit on this month, but it's definitely one I'd like to look at some point. So, yeah. Jam, South Park is October 17th. We've got a little bit longer than a week for that.
Oh, I'm so excited. But there's too many things. Oh, I need a clone.
Oh,
No.
Too many games. How terrible.
Yep.
I need to just get paid to play games. Can someone do that for me, please? That would be great. Thanks.
Just avoid getting fired, and sure, you can make that happen yourself. Just don't let anyone catch
Yeah. Right.
you. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, before we say anything else that we're going to regret on air, that's it for tonight.
Bye-bye.
The Party Loaded podcast is a Channel Endgame production. For this and more great gaming content, bookmark channelendgame.com.